Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagini व्योमवद् व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Drshya Viveka is the prakarana we will be starting today, and it is a very profound and important prakarana. Actually, it is not attributed to Adi Shankaracharya. Yeah. So many commentators have said that either it is composed by one Bharati Tirtha Swamigal, one of the Jagat Gurus of the Sringeri Mutt, established by Adi Shankaracharya. Then there are others who say this Drshya Prakarana is by the Swami Vidyaranya Munihi. We know Vidyaranya Munihi, maybe you know, is the great author of the text Panchadashi, 15 chapters, which Puja Swamiji would say is a Prasada Grantha. And Vidyaranya Muni is also connected with the great Vijayanagara Empire, in the past. But many times we see that the authorship is a matter of dispute. Even Tattva Bodha, for that matter, even Bhaja Govindam, some say it is not by the Adi Shankaracharya. But whoever is the author, we are concerned with the content. And Drshya Prakarana is a Prakarana with 46 verses. Now, Prakarana, is a short treatise on Vedanta, which is going to highlight some topic or aspect of Vedanta. And all the Vedanta Shastras, what is the topic? Mahavakyam, the great Vedantic equation, Tattvam Asi, the Jiva Ishvara Aikajnanam. So this Prakarana is called a Tvam-pada Pradhana Prakriya, which means it is going to analyze systematically us, the nature of the Jiva, and systematically arrive that the Jiva is none other than Ishvaraha. And the whole vision or the teaching is complete in the first 21 verses. So some teachers just cover the first 21 verses. And the later verses are about meditations and a definition of samadhi. What is Savikalpa Samadhi, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, and what is the state of the mind in those states? How does one pick up a word for the meditation, and so on. So this is a little bit about the Drshya Viveka. Now the title itself is very unique and it is central to Vedanta topic. Drshya Viveka. Now Viveka means discriminative understanding. It comes from the root in Sanskritam, which means Prithak Karanam. Prithak Karanam means separating one from another. Discriminating. Why should we do that, Viveka? Because two things are clubbed together. They appear as one. So there is a need for separation. There is a confusion. If there is powdered sugar and salt, we need to know which is which. Otherwise, there will be confusion. Yeah. And even our parents, decades ago, we would see our mothers or grandmothers they would be separating the stone and dust particles from the rice. Yeah, prithak karanam. Or they will sieve the wheat flour or the jaggery to remove the impurities that is discarded and to retain what is important. And even in the Katha Upanishad, Yama is explaining to the student Nachiketa, Shreyascha Preyascha Dvau Samparitya Manushyam Etau Vivinakti Dhiraha. That is, Yama is explaining to Nachiketa how every person will be faced with the two margas, Shreyo Margaha and Preyo Marga, and one has to choose between the two. And Shreyo Margaha is the good path. Preyo Margaha is the pleasant path. The pleasant will be about sense gratification, worldly fulfillment, attractive, pleasant in the beginning. Whereas Shreyo Marga is the path of renunciation, path of Viveka, Vairagyam, discipline. But the end is joyful. Yeah, it's about the Moksha Purushartha. So Yama is explaining that here also we need Viveka, the discriminative understanding between the two. So in the context of Vedanta, Viveka, how is it defined? We can go back to Tattva Bodha. Nitya Vastu Vivekaha. Kaha, what is Vivekaha? The student asks and the Guru says Nitya Vastu Vivekaha. That is Nitya Vastu Ekam Brahma. Tat Vyatiriktam Sarvam Anityam. So the Viveka in the context of Vedanta is that there is only one Nitya Vastu, that is Ekam Brahma. And everything other than that, Anatma, that is Anityam. So this is the Viveka which we already know through this text, various texts we have studied in the past. This is the basic Viveka in all our study. So really, Drshya Viveka is a prakriya. A prakriya means a methodology, a systematic way of arriving at the vision of Vedanta. So all the prakriyas we have studied before, all of them we have used Viveka, is it not? Avasthatre, Sakshi, Prakriya. How one analyzes the three states of consciousness, Viveka is involved. Panchakosha Viveka, analyzing the five koshas, Viveka is involved. And Adhyaropa Apavada, why is the rope mistaken for a snake? Yeah, again Viveka was brought in there. Karya Karana Prakriya, how is the Karyam none other than the Karanam? Again Viveka. And so Drshya is also the same topic. Drik means the seer, perceiver, knower, observer. Drishyam is anything that is perceived, it is known, it is observed and experienced. So with Viveka, Drshya Viveka means that how can the known or the seen or the perceived or the witnessed be the knower? Like, I witness the table in front of me. I witness all of you. I see the wall. I see the laptop. I see books. But I'm none of them. Yeah. And so that because they are seen, they are Drishyam, but I'm Drik. I'm the seer. But when it comes to the body, yeah, do I say that I'm not the body? I'm not the mind? They are also Drishyam. But initially, there is confusion. One does take oneself to be the body. I am this body. This is the way I think. This is my mind. So there is a mix-up. And we can connect with that famous example of Adi Shankaracharya, which we saw recently also in the slideshow presentation of the iron ball. If you recall, a very famous example. Let's take the iron ball. Iron is black in color. It is cold to touch. But when it is placed in a furnace, then it is glowing. It has got a reddish color and it is hot to touch. Whereas fire, here there are two things, right? One is the iron ball and one is the fire principle. Fire tattvam, Agni tattvam is formless. It is all pervading. Yeah, and it has no shape of its own. But now when the two are intimately connected, when the iron ball is burning, what happens? There is mutual transference. The iron ball transfers its form to the fire. Now the fire looks spherical, and the fire has transferred its property, its intrinsic nature, heat, to the iron ball, which is very hot to touch. So the two have come together and become one. So this famous example Adi Shankaracharya gives to show us that how the Atma and Anatma are also clubbed together. This is called lumping. Yeah? Instead of clearly knowing what is Atma, what is Anatma, I have mixed both the two together. Simple example is, supposing somebody asks, who are you? I will not say I am and stop with that. That would be a very strange response. I would say I am so and so. I am a senior citizen. Yeah, I am a resident of Bengaluru. I am a father of two, grandparent of three. I'm retired. I'm just recovering from a cold. I'm planning my next vacation. And the list is endless. So here we find that which is Atma, which is Anatma. I am, that is the continuity, that is Atma. And everything else are labels and definitions, properties, attributes, qualifications of Anatma bodies. But when I say I am, what do I mean? Do I mean clearly that I am Atma endowed with the bodies? Or do I take the body and the mind and all the extensions to be I? Yeah. So that is the confusion that these prakriyas are going to resolve. Now, the question, if it is asked, why should I do prathakaranam? Why should I discriminate between the two? The answer is, when the two are mixed together, then what happens? I will always have a conclusion about me. I am limited, I am inadequate, I am helpless, I am dependent on so many people, I am struggling, I am sukhi, dukhi at times, I am mortal. I was born on this date, I am aging, I don't know what will happen tomorrow. So this mix-up and not having clarity is going to be the result of emotional dukkham. And that is what samsara is all about. And so we have the solution is really Viveka. And this is the call of Vedanta. Vedanta says you are not what you take yourself to be. You are limitless, you are Tat, you are the infinite, Satchit Ananda Swarupaha. And for gaining that clarity, the clarity of what is the nature of Anatma, Anatma was born, will decline, subject to change, and will perish. But what is the nature of Atma? Ajaha amrityuhu. Ajo nitya shashvatoyam puranaha nahanyate hanyamani sharire. If I have this clear understanding, then that is what Drshya Viveka is all about. So that was a little introduction. Now with that, let us enter into the verses. The first verse. Now this text, really opens with a stunning verse. Yeah, opens with a bang, Just like Bhagavad Gita, many of you will recall what is the first verse on which Shankaracharya has written the Bhashyam. Verse number 11, chapter 2. Ashocyanan vashochastam prajnavadanscha bhashase gatasu nagatasuscha nanushocanti panditaha. So Krishna gives the highest knowledge to Arjuna right away, knowing very well that Arjuna is not ready for it. So most of the Shastras, we will see this happening, just like the headlines of a newspaper. Breaking news. And then when we want details, we go to the further pages. So to Drshya Viveka opens with this very important verse. Let us read it now. Rupam drishyam lochanam drik. Rupam drishyam lochanam drik. Tadrishyam driktu manasam. Tadrishyam driktu manasam. Rupam drishyam lochanam drik. Tadrishyam driktu manasam. Drishyadhi vrittaya sakshi. Drigevanatu drishyate. Drishyadhi vrittaya sakshi. Drigevanatu drishyate. Padacheda is very simple. Rupam, Drishyam, Lochanam, Drik. First quarter. Tat Drishyam, Driktu Manasam. Second quarter. Drishyaha, Dhivrittayaha. Sakshi. Third quarter. Drik eva, Natu Drishyate. So let's take it quarter by quarter. First one, Rupam, Drishyam, Lochanam, Drik. Now, Rupam means forms. Yeah. Now, when we open the eyes, what do we see? We see this entire Pancha Bhautikam Jagat. Now, the whole world, how are we going to experience it? Through in a five-fold way. That is why Pancha it said. Our five Jnanendriyani, they're going to pick up the data in a five-fold way. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha are the data which will be reported by our Jnanendriyani to the mind. Now, Indriyam, you all know, is the subtle faculty and not the physical organ. Yeah, like the Chakshurindriyam, it has to be blessed by Surya Devata in order to function. So, what is the function of Chakshurindriyam? Forms and colors. Like right now, you all are perceiving me. So, my Rupam and my color, the bright orange, will be picked up and the light will reflect off the body and will form an image in your mind. So, your eyes have brought in this data and vice versa. For me, your image will be a vritti, a thought in my mind. And this is how perception takes place. So, this is true of anything in the world. Now here, Rupam Drishyam. So the forms that are perceived. Drshya means object. That is objectified. A flower, a tree, the sky, a person, and also the abstract vrittis. We will come to that later. So for Rupam Drishyam, for any perception in the world, who is the seer? Seer is Lochanam. Lochanam means the eye. It is said that half of the knowledge of the world comes through the eyes. What a gift of Ishvara. Yeah, and those who are deprived of this gift, they have to rely on the other organs. So here, Lochanam is the Drik. So eye is the seer and Shabda and this Rupam is the Drishyam. Yeah, so you see, every organ is a seer, a Drik, and the corresponding object is Drishyam. And now here, Lochanam is taken, but this is a Upalakshana. Upalakshana means it stands for all the organs. Now the ear, the human ear, has a certain range of decibels it will hear. So sound is Drishyam, ear is Drik. Then the nose is Drishyam. All the variety of smells becomes Drishyam. The tongue is Drik and the tastes are Drishyam, Drishyaha. And the skin organ is the Drik and all the varieties of sensations. This is rough, this is soft, this is sharp, this is hot, this is cold. These sensations are all Drishyaha. So here in the first verse, only one organ is taken, Chakshurindriyam, and described as the seer. Seer means the perceiver. The eyes see the sun, the moon, the sky. And the sun, moon, sky, trees, the whole world becomes Drishyam, the seen, the perceived. Okay. Now, second quarter. Tat Drishyam Driktu Manasam. Now, can the sense organs function without the involvement of the mind? No. Now, the sense organs are like, the data interface. Yeah, input, output, data will happen. But if you remember, when we did Uddhava Gita, we came across the 24 gurus of the Muni Dattatreya. And one of the gurus was the arrow maker. Remember the story of the arrow maker? In a public place, there is an arrow maker who is sharpening the tip of his arrow. That is his profession. And he's so engrossed in it. And the Raja, the king with his retinue, comes and goes by. And it's accompanied by music and trumpets and bells. Everything is rung, thunderous noise. But this arrow maker is so withdrawn. The sense of sound and sight, everything is withdrawn. He doesn't hear. So the sense organs depend on the mind to function. The mind has to empower the sense organs to see. So now let us look at the second quarter. If the backing of the mind is not there, sense organs are not going to perceive. So tat drishyam, driktu manasam. Yeah. So the sense organs that are there, eyes, ears, nose, and tongue and skin, they are all perceived by whom? The mind, manasam. Yeah. Actually, the first verse is elaborated in the next 4 verses. Yeah? For example, if I have some defect in the eye, and in the corona times, what happened? Some people lost the sense of taste or the sense of smell even. Now, then the eyes or ears cannot function properly. But who is it that is aware of this? That is, the eyes cannot pick up the data now properly. It is the mind. So the second quarter says that the mind is drik and tat drishyam. Tat refers to lochanam. Now the eye that was the drik earlier and the world of objects was the perceived. Now that eye itself becomes drishyam, the perceived, that which is known by another drik, and that drik is manas or manasam. Yeah? So manasam to drik and tat lochanam drishyam. Yeah. So this is the way this text is going to continue. And then now who is the seer number 2? Mind. No, the seer number 1 was the eyes. Yeah, but the eyes cannot function independently. Then we saw the mind has to back up the sense organs. So mind is really the seer 2, let's say. Let's look at the third quarter now. Drshyaha dhivrittayaha sakshi. Now, how does the mind perceive the world? We just saw that if I have to see this pen, this pen is external to my body, of course. It's a blue pen and the form, it's somewhat, medium height. It's blue. Now the eyes have picked up all this data and presented to the mind. Yeah. Now the mind has formed what? There is a image of the pen vritti in the mind. That is called dhi vritti. And so there are countless vrittis in the mind. So if the mind is a lake, then there are all these waves like vrittis in the mind. So see Vedanta, how it will challenge our perception and say that whatever you perceive is not outside, it is in the mind. So the whole world is really experienced where? Inside our mind. And each person will see the world as per the mind. The mind is like the goggles, the mind is the lens with which we perceive the world. So look at the third quarter now. Third quarter says that whatever is happening in the mind, they're all what? A bundle of thoughts. Dhivrittayaha. So they all now are perceived. They all have become what? Drshyaha. Yeah, they're all perceived, witnessed, observed, experienced in the mind. Now, the question is, then who is the seer? Who is the knower? Sakshi. So Drshyaha Dhivrittayaha Sakshi. So now we come to the seer number 3, that is the Sakshi. And by definition, Sakshi is defined as Ananya Apekshaya Ikshate Prakashayati. Now the Sakshi is the awareness, is the Chaitanyam, is the pure consciousness. The very first verse, the author has arrived at this Chaitanyam. So here it says that the Dhi Vrittis, Dhi Vrittis, here we have this pen which corresponds to a pen vritti in my mind. But they can be internal vrittis also. I know I'm going to get angry. I know I'm hungry. How? Because there is a hunger vritti in the mind. Maybe I listen to the hunger pangs also. There's some sound, rumbling sound, but there's a hunger vritti. I know I'm happy. I know I'm sad. I'm going through a loss. I'm anxious about the future. Today is Saturday. All these vrittis are known and, made aware of by whom? Who is that? Who is aware of all the happenings in the mind? Sakshi. And that Sakshi is the third seer explained in the first verse. Sakshi is now the Drik. Sakshi is the Drik. And then, is there anybody who's observing the Sakshi? No. Yeah? That Sakshi is Drigeva Natu Drishyate. Last quarter. That Sakshi always remains as Drik. Will never be converted to Drishyam. Why? Because the Sakshi is self-revealing, self-luminous, self-evident. The simple example is the sun and the moon. Yeah, the moon borrows sunlight, borrows the light from the sun. So we say Suryaha Bhati, Chandraha Anubhati. That is, the sun does not borrow light. The sun shines by its own glory, but it lends the sentience to the moon and other planets and satellites. They all shine in the borrowed light. So too we say Atma Bhati or Sakshi Bhati, and everything else what? Anubhati. So we see that the mind is like the software and the sense organs are like the data input-output interface. But Sakshi is the power. If the power is not there, software, hardware cannot function. So this is the first shloka, that this Sakshi is the permanent, absolute, ultimate Drik. It can never become Drishyam. Yeah? Natu Drishyate. It can never become Drishyam means, we have seen this recently in Kena Upanishad, that it can never be an object that I can know through the mind. I can have a concept about it. I can perceive through the sense organs. Ashabdam, asparsham, arupam, arasam, agandham. Radha, pratibodha, viditam, matam. Sakshi is that by which the mind is empowered. Mind empowers the sense organs. Sense organs reveal the whole world. And that is how everything comes to light because of the Sakshi. But the Sakshi itself remains the Drik, remains the subject, the perceiver, and can never become the perceived, the witnessed, the experienced. So this is the Prakriya, Drik Drshya Prakriya. That how the objects, the objects in the world, like the table, table in front of me, does it say that, look at me, I am a table? No. The table has to be revealed by my eyes. But the eyes have to be revealed by the mind. And the mind has to be revealed by Atma Sakshi. And Sakshi need not be revealed at all. Because Sakshi is self-revealing. It is self-evident. Now, most of us, can easily connect this topic with Ekashloki of Shankaracharya and Kena Upanishad, also Tattva Bodha, Atma Bodha. We have seen this many times. So, once again, Rupam drishyam lochanam drik tadrishyam driktu manasam drishyadhi vrittaya sakshi drige vanatu drishyate. So here the first verse is talking about three driks, three seers. I is the seer, number one, but relative, dependent on the mind. Then the mind is seer number two, also dependent on Sakshi. But the seer number three, Sakshi, is independent and does not need anyone to shine or to reveal itself. Then how to know that Sakshi? And that is by when the mind turns inward in a subtle way, one knows that there is a witnessing presence. Avasthatraya Sakshi, we saw that in the three states of consciousness, no? Right now, waking state, Sakshi is there. Dream state, Sakshi is there. Mind is also there. The mind projects a dream world. But deep sleep, the mind is not there. Sense organs are not there, but Sakshi continues. Because on waking up, I say, I slept well. So there was the I. And so here we are gaining understanding about that self-revealing ultimate seer and drik, that is the Sakshi. Now let's go to the second verse. And I said, now this first verse is so important that every quarter of the first verse is going to be elaborated in the following verses. Now verse number 2. नीलपीतस्थूलसूक्ष्म ह्रस्वदीर्घादिभेदतः नीलपीतस्थूलसूक्ष्म ह्रस्वदीर्घादिभेदतः नानाविधानि रूपाणि पश्येल्लोचनमेकधा नीलपीतस्थूलसूक्ष्म ह्रस्वदीर्घादिभेदतः नानाविधानि रूपाणि पश्येल्लोचनमेकधा. Second shloka. Neela Pita Sthula Sukshma Hrasva Dirghadi Bhedataha Nana Vidhani Rupani. So see, the first shloka talked about Rupam, Drishyam, Lochanam, Drik. So we're taking the only one Jnanendriyam, that is Chakshu. And of course, what is the duty of Chakshu? To report forms and colors. Now these Rupani, the forms that we perceive, how varied they are. Nana Vidhani. Yeah, you see a huge redwood tree and then you see a small mosquito. Yeah. So they are so varied, our perceptions of the eye. That is explained in the first shloka. Some are Neela, blue, Pita, yellow, Sthula, huge, Sukshma or gross, Sukshma, subtle, Hrasva, short, Dirgha, long. Adi Bhedataha. So because of the variety, variety in any color, variety of sounds, variety of dimensions, yeah, these Rupani are what? Nana Vidhani. They're all varied due to the difference in color and size. But look at the last quarter now. Pashet Lochanam Ekadha. Now, do our eyes have to change in order to see a change in color or a change in dimension? No. So Lochanam is eye. The eye, Pashe, cognizes all these varieties of differences in dimension and color, but remains Ekadha, remains one. Yeah, that is really the wonder of our eyes, no? That is, the forms are all varying, and any form is Drishta Nashta Swabhavaha. Yeah, you see a tree bright green and then it fades, color changes and it even falls. But the same one eye is perceiving all the differences. So there is constant change in whatever is perceived, in their colors, in their dimensions, and a fat person can become lean and vice versa. Yeah, and a short thing can be lengthened and long can become short. All these differences, but lochanam, that is the eye, pashe cognizes, the one that cognizes is ekatha, is one. So again, here it shows that the drishyam, whatever is perceived, is nana, varied, infinite, but drik is one. That is the eye. So verse number 2 is elaborating what? The first quarter of the first verse. Rupam, Drishyam, Lochanam, Drik. That's all. Now the third verse is going to elaborate the second quarter of the first verse. Yeah. Let us look at the third verse now. आन्ध्यमान्ध्यपटत्वेषु पटुत्वेषु आन्ध्यमान्ध्यपटत्वेषु नेत्रधर्मेषु चैकधा नेत्रधर्मेषु चैकधा सङ्कल्पयेन्मनश्रोत्रत्वगादौ योज्यतामिदं सङ्कल्पयेन् मनः श्रोत्रत् Vagadau yojitamidam. So here, Andhya, Mandhya, Patutveshu, Netra Dharmeshu, Cha Ekadha. Sankalpayet Manaha, Shrotra, Tvagadau yojyatam idam. Now, it is going to explain the second quarter. What is the second quarter of the first verse? That, the eye that was drik had become drishyam. Yeah, and who is the perceiving the eye? Mind. So manas is drik and eye is drishyam. Now this verse says andhya. Andhya means blindness. Yeah, blindness. Blindness is when the sight is deprived. Yeah, andhya, blindness. Then mandhya. Mandhya means mandatvam. Manda means a dullness. Yeah. Now, and today in these times, almost everybody is suffering from blurred vision. Yeah, there is mandhya vision because too much screen time, watching the screen all the time. So mandhya is there. Also, there can be other causes, glaucoma, diabetes. People have to take care of their eyesight. Or with age, the faculty reduces, or cataract, where we see two instead of one. Or patutveshu, or the eyes can enjoy 20/20 vision, very sharp. So all these are what? Netra dharmas. Netra dharmas means they are all characteristic of the eyes. Yeah, what a beautiful gift of Ishvara. That is, the eyes are no doubt, are fresh in the beginning, but with age, what happens? There can be andhya or mandhya or patutva. Patutva will be there if we take care of our eyes, do eye exercises, and take care of the diet, vitamin A and so on. Then the eyes remain sharp for a long age, up to the age. But all these conditions of the eye, blindness, dullness, blurred vision, cataract vision, or sharp vision, they are all what? Netra dharmas. Netra dharmas, and who is it that is aware? Now, how do I know that I am not able to see properly? Or I'm going blind in one eye? Or I have to get a cataract operation done? Mana. Second line, sankalpayet manaha. So it is the mind, the sukshma shariram, which cognizes, sankalpayet. Sankalpayet means cognizes, which understands. Which understands what? The netra dharmas of the eye. Yeah. And the degrees of sharpness or of vision is all known to the mind. Then the last quarter, Shrotra Tvak Adau. Now, with respect to the other organs, Shrotram, ear. The ear also can go, can have some defect. At some point, one cannot, one has a loss of hearing. That is why we have hearing aid. So, Shrotra can have problems. Then Tvak. Tvak means the sense organ of touch, the skin. Now, we know there are people who suffer from paralysis. So they cannot sense the sensations anymore. Something hot is poured on the skin. They suffer because they were not able to react. And then there is an ailment, or when it is too cold. So they need caretakers for such people. So this last quarter of the third verse says, Shrotra Tvak Adav. With respect to all the other organs also, there will be changes. There will be decline in their capacity. Yojatam idam. So this logic has to be applied to all the organs. Which logic? Manaha sankalpayet. That is, what is that one being which knows all the sense organs? That is how they are functioning. And that is the manaha. So, this verse number 3 is just saying that even though our jnanendriyani are all the seers of Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha, but the jnanendriyani themselves change and they suffer losses and they become defective and they get worn out. And who is noticing the changes in all the jnanendriyani? Manaha. Manaha sankalpayet. So mind is the observing the changes, the netra dharmas of the chakshuhu, chakshurindriyam, and also of all the other organs. Yojitam idam means this logic has to be extended to all the sense organs. Okay. आन्ध्यमान्ध्यपटुत्वेषु नेत्रधर्मेषु चैकधा सङ्कल्पयेन्मनः श्रोत्रत्वगादौ योजितामिदम्. And with that, the first line of the first verse has been explained with these two verses. Now, let's go to verse number 4, which explains the second line of the first verse. Yeah, that is the ultimate seer, Sakshi. Fourth verse. Kama sankalpa sandehau shraddha shraddhe dhriti tare. Kama sankalpa sandehau shraddha shraddhe dhriti tare. ह्रीर्धीर्भीरित्येव मादीन् भासयत्येकधाचितिः ह्रीर्धीर्भीरित्येव मादीन् इत्येव मादीन् भासयत्येकधाचितिः. Now we come to that ultimate seer, that is Sakshi. Kamaha, Sankalpa, Sandeha, Shraddha, Ashraddha, Dhriti, Itare, Hrihi, Dhihi, Bhihi, Iti, Evam, Adin, Bhasayati, Ekadha, Chitihi. Now we come to the understanding of who is the Sakshi. Yeah, who is the ultimate observer, which can never be observed. And that is explained here, that how the mind observes the sense organs, yeah, and the Sakshi observes the mind. Now, what is happening in the mind? A variety of vrittis are there. First is kamaha. Kamaha we know is desire. So, any desire, where is it going to happen? In the mind, kamaha. Then sankalpa. Sankalpa is a determined thought. I want to do this. I don't want to do that. Sankalpa. But at the same time, mind is what? Sankalpa vikalpatmakam manas. Tattvabodha definition. The mind, has all these four-fold functions, right? From Tattvabodha, we know that manas, chittam, buddhi, ahankara. So here we will just take the manas as the whole. So manas can also have Sandeha. This we know very well. When we leave the house, did I switch off the gas? Did I lock the front door? Yeah. Did I switch off this appliance, that appliance? This is the nature of the doubting mind. Sandeha. But if the mind is strong and has a clear memory, it will say, no, Sankalpa, yes, I did switch off the gas. I did lock the door. I did water the plants. I did pay the bills. Sankalpa. So, the mind can desire, the mind can have sankalpas, the mind can have sandeha, doubts. Then Shraddha. Shraddha is, we know, astikya buddhi. Shraddha is an open, trusting mind. In fact, the whole life runs on Shraddha. We don't have Shraddha, we cannot pursue anything in life. So the quality of acceptance and faith and trust in the mind is Shraddha. But there can be also Ashraddha. There can be distrust and suspicion and suspecting something is going wrong. So Shraddha, Shraddhe, that's a Dvandva Samasa there, clubbed together. Both these. Then Dhriti. Dhriti means perseverance, determination. And Itare. Itare is its opposite. So the author is showing how in the mind, all these things will happen, a range of emotions. Then further, the list continues. Hrihi. Hrihi means modesty. Some authors say shame, but it is really more shyness. No? In the mind, there's a mindset which is shy. Hrihi. Then dhihi. Dhihi is again the determination. Yeah, the buddhi. Steadiness, the steady power. Then bhihi means fear. So the mind also fears at times. Iti evam adin, etc. All these are happening in the mind. Bhasayati, who is lighting up all these emotions and vrittis and states of the mind? Ekadha chitihi. The one and only one pure consciousness, which is referred to here as chitihi. Now, chitihi is an unusual word. It is not often used, but it is interesting for us. Do you know why? Because chitihi is ikaranta strilinga shabda for the supreme consciousness. Usually what we say Brahman. Akaranta napunsakalinga shabda Brahma, supreme consciousness. Then Purushaha we have heard many times. Purushaha is Pulinga Shabda. But now for the same Tattvam, Atma Tattvam, we have Chitihi. Chitihi is a feminine Shabda. We should all be happy about it. Which means that there is no gender for Atma. Yeah. So, many people ask me, why your Shastras, always say Saha Moksham Labhyate, he attains moksha, and but then here we see Chitihi, yeah, the feminine Shabda Chitihi. So now this Chitihi, we have to connect to what? The Sakshi of the first verse. Yeah, Drshyaha dhivritteha Sakshi drigeva natu drishyate. So this Chitihi is talking about that Sakshi, that witnessing presence with witnesses. This is a beautiful meditation right here. When we know that in the mind, there are emotional ups and downs. I'm happy one day, but then that state will change. Then anxiety will come in. Then that changes. Then I'm hungry. Then that changes. There may be sorrow. And there are varieties of desires. Then sometimes I'm very determined and persevering. Yeah, Sankalpa is there. And sometimes I'm doubtful and trustful or absence of trust. Then there's shyness, or we have to also take all the opposites. Shyness, if a mind is shy, then there is a mind that can be bold and courageous. If there is bhihi, there is also dhairyam, courage. So all this bhasayati, beautiful word, bhasayati means illumines, lights up. So that is the light of pure consciousness, which we see is Jyotisham Jyotihi. That is the light of all lights, which never goes off. Yeah. See, the eyes are one light. Yeah, because they reveal the world. But when we are sleeping, then the eyes are switched off. Then the mind is also another light. But in the deep sleep, mind is switched off. The Sakshi is the light of all lights. Is it ever switched off? No. Sakshi does not depend on anything for its light. And we cannot have another Sakshi observing this Sakshi. Otherwise, there'll be that anavastha dosha, ad infinitum regression. We will need another Sakshi to know the second Sakshi and so on. So the Sakshi is ekadha chitihi, bhasayati. Yeah. We have seen those shlokas, no? Na tatra suryo bhati na chandratarakam nema vidyato bhanti kutoyam agnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. The Arati mantra, which we've come across in Kathopanishad, Mundaka Upanishad also, that all these luminaries we see in the sky, lightning, fire, moon, and the sun, they're all shining, no doubt. Yeah, but they cannot illumine this Chitihi. And it's the other way around. The Chitihi, Sakshi Tattvam, is lending the light of sentience to everything in the world, including these luminaries. And they all what? Anubhati. And Sakshi, Chitihi, Bhati. And Bhasayati. Bhasayati means it brings to light. So we can say Atma Bhati and the mind Anubhati. Mind and sense organs, they all shine, or they shined in the borrowed light of Atma. Okay. Kama sankalpa sandehau shraddha shraddhe dhriti tare dhrir dhir bhir ityevamadin bhasayatyekadha chitihi. Fourth verse over. Now, the conclusion is very clear that the mind undergoes a lot of changes. The sense organs undergo changes with time, both being anatma, matter principle. They will be subject to decline. Yeah. But they're all drishyas. They're all objects of perception of consciousness, sakshi, chitihi. Now, what exactly is this chitihi? That is explained in the next shloka, number 5. Very important shloka. The description of the Sakshi Tattvam. Nodeti nastametyesha. Nodeti nastametyesha. Navriddhim yati nakshayam. Navriddhim yati nakshayam. Swayam vibhatyam anyani. Bhasayet sadhanam vina. Bhasayet sadhanam vina. Na udeti na astam iti esha. Na vriddhim yati na kshayam. Swayam vibhati atha anyani bhasayet sadhanam vina. Now, we have often seen that Chitihi or Sakshi cannot be directly known, perceived, or conceptualized. It always remains as hidden, invisible. But it can be known. It can be known indirectly. Yeah, indirectly means by the process of negation, neti neti. And that is what is applied here. That Sakshi na udeti. Udeti means rises. We know Surya udeti, sunrise. We also know the time. But Chitihi Sakshi na udeti. Why no udeti? Because it is not a thing. It is not an event. It is not born. Na udeti. Actually, na udeti for Sakshi here means ajaha, na jayate. Then if something is not born, it cannot decline, change or die. The next word, na astam iti. Suryam astam gacchati. Suryam sets every day, but not the light or the sun of Atma. So that Atma sun neither rises nor sets. Na udeti, na astam. That is, there is no abhava. Nasato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate satah. No, we saw in the Gita chapter also that how for anatma anything like the sun, the moon, the worlds, the bodies, no, anatma anything, there is no permanence. Yeah, nasato vidyate bhavaha. And for the chitihi, atma, there is no abhava. There is no, what can we say? There is no extinguishing, no setting. Because it is the non-negatable tattvam which simply is. It continues. It was, is, and will be. So that is explained beautifully here. Na udeti, na astam iti esha. Na vriddhim. Vriddhi means growth. No, growth is to become, the aging process. Yeah, aging process is not there for Atma. When it was not born, there is no death. How can there be growth and change? Yeah, so na vriddhim yati, na kshayam. Na kshayam means there is no quality change, there is no quantity difference. Yeah, Atma being of the nature of fullness is limitless. It was, is, and will be. That is the I am. Whenever I say, I am so and so, that amness is Atma. And that Atma is not subject to mortality. Yeah. Veda vinashinam nityam ya enamajam avyayam katham sapurusha partha kam ghatayati hantikam. Gita repeatedly talks about the nature of Atma in the verses of chapter 2. It is avinashi, and there is no growth, there is no rising and setting, no birth and no death, no kshayam. Second line is swayam vibhati atha anyani bhasayet sadhanam vina. Swayam vibhati is, it is self-shining. Self-shining, and it does not borrow the light from anyone. It is sentient. It's the only sentient conscious entity. Swayam bhati. Then atha anyani bhasayet, and it illumines everything else. Like that example I gave, Suryaha bhati, Chandraha anubhati. So Atma bhati, anyat sarvam anubhati. Everything else comes to light by this Atma tattva, which is Swayam vibhati. Anyani bhasayet means it illumines everything. You take the Avastatraya Sakshi. So right now, I am speaking and you are listening. And sometimes you are speaking, I am listening. Yeah. So these events, that is speech, listening, yeah, all these are lighted up by our minds. The minds are lighted up by Atma Chaitanyam. So that one indivisible Atma is bhasayet, is lighting up all the events. The events of our life, the stages of growth, as a baby, then I was a boy or girl, then teenager, then I got married and settled and got a job and traveled. And then I became a parent and grandparent and then retired. All these stages, there is a constant light accompanying. The real Marga Bandhu. That is Sarvani Bhasaye. And look at the beauty of this Sadhanam Pina. So this Chitihi or Sakshi, without anybody's help, not dependent on anything, no sadhanas needed to illumine everything. Effortlessly, it continues. Whereas you see the eyes, the Jnanendriyani are dependent on the mind. And the mind is dependent on the vritti. The mind has to be empowered by Sakshi in order to have a vritti, a thought about any object. They're all dependent. but not so Atma. Yeah. In the dream state, how is the dream happening? Again, the mind is borrowed the light from Atma. And then in the deep sleep, there is Atma alone, yeah, shining. And what is it illumining in the deep sleep? Atma, nothing. So absence of experience is also an experience. Like, when you walk into a dark room, your eyes are open, but you don't see anything. That is the state of deep sleep. Consciousness is always awake, yeah, but there is nothing happening in deep sleep. Yeah, everything is blanketed. So that is the nature of Chitihi or Sakshi. And that is brought about in the fifth shloka. Nodeti nastyametyesha navriddhim yati nakshayam swayam vibhatya thanyani bhasayet sadhanam vina. So in these 5 verses, the author has talked about 3 seers, 3 driks, right? What are they? Drik number 1 in an individual, in us, what is drik number 1? The sense organs. They're all data reporters. They gather the knowledge and report to the mind. Then what is drik number 2? Drik number 2 is the perceiver of the sense organs itself. Yeah, that is the mind. And so mind becomes drik and jnanendriyani are drishyas. The first time the world was drishyam and the jnanendriyani were drik. Now jnanendriyani, their netra dharmas are perceived by manasam. So sense organs become drishyas and manas is drik. Yeah. Then the mind is a bundle of thoughts and vrittis. We saw a big list there. Sankalpa, Sandeha, and Shraddha, Ashraddha, and so on. They are all perceived by Sakshi. So Sakshi is the ultimate drik. Yeah? And the drik that really sees or perceives or knows anything and everything through the mind and the sense organs. And that Sakshi is sadhanam vina. It does not need any support and it is independently shining. Whereas all the other instruments, mind is antakarana instrument, jnanendriyani are instruments, they all need the support and the backing of each other and of course of the Atma also. So that is the Sakshi is brought about in these first 5 verses. No? Now, if you all remember in Dakshinamurti Stotram, number 4, there is a beautiful analogy of the inverted pot. Nana chitra ghatodara sthita mahadeepa prabhabhaswaram jnanam yasya tu chakshuradikarana dvara bahispandate. So, the analogy is there is an inverted pot and there is a deepam inside the pot. And the pot is perforated. Yeah, there are 5 holes. So what will happen to that light that is placed inside? It will beam through the 5 holes, is it not? So there will be 5 shafts of light coming out of the pot. And whatever is there in that line, in that trajectory, that will be illumined. So too, the body is like an inverted pot. And the Panchajnanendriyani are like the holes. And Atma is the Pradipaha placed inside the pot, which is shining, always shining. And that light passes through the 5 Jnanendriyani. And so one root will pick up forms and colors, another sounds, the third smell, 4th touch, and the 5th tastes. So that was the shloka number 4 we saw in Dakshinamurti Stotram. Yeah. Nana chitra ghatodara sthita prabha deepa prabha bhaswaram. Janamiti. And that is why I say janami, janami, janami. I know. Yeah. So that is the ultimate drik. and Anatma is Drshya. So this is the Drshya Viveka. How to do this Prithak Karanam and to understand clearly that what is it that is, Anatma and what is truly Atma. So the more I have clarity on the nature of Anatma, nature of Atma, then the more I will be centered and free from that emotional dependence. Emotional dependence, and of course, the emotional dependence which is causing so much sorrow in life. So let us just quickly repeat these verses from the beginning and then we'll conclude. रूपं दृश्यं लोचनं दृक् तदृश्यं दृक्तु मानसं दृश्याधिवृत्तयः साक्षी दृगेव न तु दृश्यते नीलपीतस्थूलसूक्ष्म ह्रस्वदीर्घादिभेदतः नानाविधानि रूपाणि पश्येल्लोचनमेकधा आन्ध्यमान्ध्यपटुत्वेषु नेत्रधर्मेषु चैकधा सङ्कल्पयेन्मनश्रोत्रत्वगादौ योज्यतामिदम् कामसङ्कल्पसन्देहौ श्रद्धा श्रद्धे धृतितरे ह्रीर्धीर्भीरित्येवमादीन् भासयत्येकधा चितिः नोदेति नास्तमेत्येषा न वृद्धिं याति न क्षयं स्वयं विभात्यथान्यानि भासयेत् साधनं विना ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ